Hey, you wild woman, you are tuning in to another wild take on the Into the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Renee, and I'm so excited to talk about this particular topic about making decisions. Even this morning, I was thinking about when I'm going to eat lunch, when I'm going to record this episode, even though some things are already scheduled in my calendar. I still was overthinking the process of all the tasks that I have to do today. And it's really stupid. Think about it. It's already scheduled. I already made the decision that it needs to get done at this time of day, yet I'm still overthinking it. And why do I do this? Why do we do this? The overthinking, it's costing you time and money. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today. You're going to leave knowing a framework that I most recently adopted to help make decisions faster. But I want you to know that overthinking is causing you stress. It's causing you money. It's actually making you less creative. According to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, the fear of failure prevents 33% of people from starting or growing their business. That could be you. So there's probably a big decision that you're making in business that you're not doing because of this fear of failure. So here's the fascinating thing about entrepreneurial minds, like yours, like mine. It's the very traits that make you successful can also make you more susceptible to overthinking. Now, there are probably some decisions in life and in business that you do need to put time behind. You do need to sleep on it, like what school you're going to send your kids to. If you're going to hire an employee, if you're going to use a new email client, like there are expensive decisions, there are time-consuming decisions that do require extra thought. But for the most part, of the 30,000 thoughts we have a day and all the decisions we have to make, most things you can make the decision like that. Like what time you're going to eat lunch, what you're going to wear today. We overthink it for many reasons. And I'm actually going to talk to you about some of these things that smart entrepreneurs are that cause them to overthink. But first of all, I want to tell you a story about my agency days. So when I had Onboardly, my last agency that worked with funded technology companies, this was fun. We offered all the things because we wanted to be everything to everybody. So when we started the company, we called ourselves a demand marketing agency. So we offered content marketing services, we offered social media, we did public relations, and they really all tied together. So it made sense for us to offer these as a service. The problem is that we were a small team, and I was also having my babies in the first year of launching this business. And there were days when I was editing like 10 blog posts and 5 LinkedIn articles. And it got to the point where it was so exhausting. I actually stepped back. And this was like year 2 of business. So we had enough data to analyze this. And I actually reviewed the things that made us the most money. It turns out doing just PR and becoming just a PR agency had a much better ROI for our clients and for ourselves. So our profit margins went up like 50% by purely cutting out the things like content marketing and social media. And we referred that type of work to other agencies that specialized that. But the decision to do that was so tough because we had employees on the team whose role were specifically designated to doing social media stuff. We had clients who I would say like 80% of the work we were doing for them had nothing to do with PR. So the decision to actually get rid of that offer wasn't something that you just make in a drop of a dime. Problem with me is that I kept overthinking it. I kept thinking of all the scenarios. Well, we'd have to let so-and-so go because there would be no work for her, and then our clients would leave. None of that was true. When we doubled down on offering just PR, we had 1 month where we were in the red because of the transition. But then quickly over the course of several months to the next year, we became super profitable. So in hindsight, I should have made that decision faster. Now I don't have the data or the history to know what to expect from it, but it was during a phase in my life that I was overthinking these things. So anyways, here are some things that really smart entrepreneurs do that can make us prone to overthinking. These are things and skills that actually make us successful entrepreneurs. However, when they get in the way of making a decision, it costs us time, it costs us money, it makes us stressed out. You get it. So the first one is pattern recognition. So the entrepreneurial brain is wired to spot patterns and connections. You're constantly scanning for opportunities and even potential pitfalls and accidents. While this is incredibly valuable for your business strategy, it can also lead you down endless rabbit holes of what if scenarios. So you start seeing connections everywhere, and then all of a sudden, a simple decision becomes a complex web of possibilities. You understand? Like, think about a decision you had to make, and you were looking at the patterns and previous decisions you had to make. So instead of it being, hey, do you want the green or the pink highlighter? Now all of a sudden you're thinking about, but wait, most people use that yellow highlighter, but purple is my favorite color. So why aren't I using purple? Those weren't even options, but you're overthinking it. So there are so many moments in your day, even as a mother, even as a stay-at-home mom, even as somebody who is expanding their business to $1 million or hiring a next employee, that gets stuck in the decision-making fatigue because of little things like pattern recognition. While they can serve us, when it comes to make quick decisions, they deter us. The other thing too is high-stakes environments. So most of us are often in environments where the impact of decisions don't just affect us, because they affect the people we employ, our customers, our families, and we're responsible for their livelihoods, like paying their rent and helping them put food on the table. So when it comes to making certain decisions, naturally you want to overanalyze things. So the weight of these responsibilities, being a business owner or an entrepreneur, can turn your normal considerations into paralyzing overthinking. Women are so good at this. The other thing is information overload. We are in a day and age where we can get anything we want at the drop of a bucket. I use ChatGPT and Claude for all my searching, my online searching now. I rarely go to Google. And I do have to prompt these AI tools a lot. However, I find that the information comes faster, more robust, with a lot of considerations. So there's almost no excuse on making a social media strategy. There's no excuse on making a business strategy or crafting the perfect pitch or press release. Everything is at our fingertips. World-class stuff is at our fingertips. The problem with that is we also have information overload. And entrepreneurs are naturally curious, and we want to be well informed, especially when making a big decision. But then again, this contributes to analysis paralysis, when you're constantly seeking one more piece of data before making a decision because you feel like you have to collect it all as opposed to just making a decision with what's in front of you. We don't trust ourselves in this process. Speaking of that, it's the perfectionist tendencies too. Many successful entrepreneurs go where they are by maintaining high standards, right? They get to where they are by these high standards, become the best in class. They want to maintain that reputation. So this could be you. And you've likely built your success or wherever you are in your business on the attention to detail and striving for excellence. Like, do one thing really well. That's what my motto for business is. If you're going to do one thing, do it really well, be the best in the world at it. Comes with a lot of pressure. And that pressure is to be perfect. So the problem with the perfectionist, as you know, it can become your biggest roadblock. And why? Because it stops you from taking action. It stops you from making a decision. It stops you from publishing something. Right before recording, I needed to send the PDF of our sponsorship package for the Pink Skirt project to get printed. And we need to get 10 of these little booklets done. So when I looked at the options of doing it in color versus black and white, there was a stark difference in pricing. The color booklet was $10 and the black and white booklet was just less than $2. And I thought to myself, okay, Renee, you have a decision now. You're either spending like $100 or not. And I just said, quick decision. I'm going to do black and white. I'm going to go pick them up. And if they don't look very presentable, then I'll just resend. Old Renee would have gone back to my business partner, Anita, and been like, what do you think? Colored or black and white? What's the advantages and disadvantages to both? You have to make a decision on what is your threshold for making quick decisions based on a price tag. So anything under $100, make the quick decision. Don't ask, go for it. Worst case scenario is I walk up to the print place. I see these black and white booklets and they don't look appealing because this is us looking for sponsorships for the event. And the sponsorship packages are like $10K. So is this flimsy little $2 brochure worthy of it? Who knows? And so I weighed the pros and cons very quickly, and I just went with the first thing because I have a whole checklist of things that I have to do today. And it's in process now. There's no turning back, and that cost me like $30. So if it's worst case scenario, it's a $30 mistake. No big deal. So I wasn't aiming for perfection in this instance. I was aiming for done because I have a deadline today. I need to get these to my partner. So get rid of those perfectionist tendencies. The next thing is past success pressure. So here's something we don't talk about enough, is the pressure of past successes. When you've had wins in your business, you might feel an intense pressure to maintain that perfect track record. This can lead to overthinking as you try to replicate past successes exactly rather than trusting your evolved instincts. So you're relying on the way that you used to always do things because that is what garners you success, as opposed to what could potentially grow your business even more. I talked about this in a presentation I did the other day on another podcast about being experience versus expertise. Experience is the people who have had clocked time in what they do. So like a teacher that has taught for 30 years has more experience with someone who just graduated teachers college. The difference with someone who has expertise is that teacher is the one that goes and takes courses throughout the year and how to be a better educator, how to create better lesson plans, or talking to the kids or talking to the parents and how they can be a better teacher. Expertise is knowing that there are better ways of doing something. So if you are really dialed in to the way you used to do things because that's what garners you success and you keep doing that, eventually you will have to evolve. Like every business, like every process has to evolve over time. So don't think that just because it was successful for you in the past is the way it's going to be for you in the future. Perfect example is coming out of the pandemic and to this wonky economy. I had a bunch of friends that had launched their program. They've been launching for 5 years. But this past fall, it was so tough for them. They needed to do like 8 times the amount of touch points to convert anybody. The price point remained the same, but they actually had to do more work and they had to do things differently. It used to go that they would run ads for cold leads to a funnel to get a free webinar. And like that stuff still works. But for them, the only thing that was really helping people make the decision to convert was calling them on the phone. Weirdest thing. So they actually had to pick up the phone and dial these people to convert them into their programs. And I don't know if that's still the case, but there was that moment in time where they knew the pressure was on. So the way that they always did things need to be changed and shifted according to what was really happening with their community and the economy. So you have to be open to that. So we also naturally as entrepreneurs have creative problem-solving tendencies. We like to solve problems as fast as we can, creatively as we can. We always see multiple angles and potential solutions for every challenge. At least the great entrepreneurs do. While this can be your superpower, especially when it comes to innovation, it can work against you in decision-making. You might keep searching for better solutions even when you have a perfectly good solution. So it's kind of like the person who keeps launching different offers because the first couple launches didn't work. As opposed to fixing the launch, they fixed the offer. And maybe there is some correlation between the two, but for the most part, people just do too much work in creating a new offer as opposed to tweaking the marketing for the original offer. The other thing too, a couple more things about why really great entrepreneurs and even newbies are prone to decision-making paralysis is the fear of missed opportunities. We often, we have like this heightened awareness of opportunity costs. And maybe you're like this, where you're not thinking about what could go wrong. You're thinking about what else you could do, you could be doing instead. So this can create a paralysis where you're afraid to commit to any one path because it means potentially missing out on other opportunities. It's called FOMO, fear of missed opportunities or fear of missing out. So we just say yes, yes, yes to everything. And for an entrepreneur, anybody with a busy schedule, it's the worst thing you can do because before you know it, you look at your calendar and you're doing a million things for everybody else and nothing for yourself. And the last thing is the illusion of control. And if you go back to a previous episode, I have talked about this actual title about the illusion of control, how we think we have control. And this illusion in itself gives us what we think is the possibility, but really gets us stuck. We bank ourselves in the same outcome over and over again, doing the same thing. And when we lose that control in terms of like making the decisions or not, what happens is it frustrates us. Here's the truth. There's no amount of overthinking that can ever guarantee success. Some factors will always be beyond your control, like the shifting of the economy or who becomes the president or prime minister. So don't think that you have control over everything because you don't. There are bigger factors at play always. However, don't let that stop you from making decisions. So the key insight here is that overthinking isn't just about thinking too much. It's about thinking in ways that don't serve us. It's about mistaking motion for action, analysis for progress. So I want to dive into a really quick 5-step process that I've done to help me make decisions faster. You want to make better decisions faster. And why? Because as soon as you make the decision, you have to learn to know that you're invested into it and you can walk away from it. So you're no longer thinking about it. Am I right? So the first part of this is to release all these expectations, release control, release everything I just talked about. You have to let go of the perfect outcome. There's this thing that we go by here. It's called the 80% confidence rule. If you're 80% confident that this decision is good, then just do it. Make the decision. Make the decision to print your black and white brochure over color and just know that the cost of that, for me, $30 could have been a $30 mistake. Who knows? You have to release it, knowing that the decision is made, it's final, just do it. The next thing is record. So in the process of making a decision, let's use an example of you need to hire somebody, but it's really going to stretch the budget in your business. Brain dump your thoughts. Then if you need to create a decision journal, it's just like, these are all the decisions that I have to make today, this week, this month, this year. Write them out. Okay. What are the pros and cons? Identify the patterns in your thinking. So do you immediately go to looking at the cons of every decision and really not objectively looking at how this could benefit you? Because sometimes I do that too. And it's called having a victim mentality. You're actually doing yourself a detriment to highlighting only the cons as opposed to looking at the opportunity. So if you want to hire an employee, for example, but you know that's going to stretch the budget, the advantages are if it's a great employee and you make the right decision in who you're hiring, they're going to get more time back for you. They're going to probably do a better job at the task at hand than you ever did. That's the hope, so that you get the time back to focus on the things that you're actually good at. So maybe there's a month where it's a stretch, but knowing it's an investment for your time, for your sanity, for your company, you're also providing somebody the opportunity to have a job. So I would say that there's more pros than cons. So when you record this, the brain dump, try to be as optimistic as you can, because what this does for you too, in this instance of hiring somebody, it's a forcing function for you to work harder so that that person's salary is not an issue. The next thing is the reality check. You have to examine your fears objectively. So now you have this list of cons. Like, what is the probability of any of these things actually happening? Here's what I want you to do in these instances is run the what's the worst that could happen exercise. Or as my friend Heather Chauvet says, write this out 10 times. Wouldn't it be nice if? So wouldn't it be nice if I could hire a marketing director? Wouldn't it be nice if I can get 20 hours a week back? Wouldn't it be nice if we got more customers? Wouldn't it be nice if we were more creative in our advertising or marketing? So the wouldn't it be nice is like you're creating your dream list. You're creating your reality check. That you know instinctively it's the right decision to hire this person, but you keep telling yourself other stories because you don't trust yourself. So you have to create contingency plans too. This is where the pros and the cons kind of join forces. So all these pros, you just said, wouldn't it be nice if, but there's also cons. What happens if we don't land that big project? Then I can't afford them. Then I have to let them go. What are the contingency plans? But don't look at them as being the only thing that helps you make the decision. You have to make the decision. Someone came up to you and say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you 1,000 paper cuts unless you decide today, are you hiring this person? Make that decision. Think about where that's showing up in your life today. If it's hiring an incredible hormone specialist, for instance, Michelle Sands from Glow Natural Wellness. She is the sponsor of the Pink Skirt Project. She helps women with their hormones to reduce their hot flashes, to manage their perimenopause and menopause symptoms, to increase their libido. And I knew that's expensive, but really at the end of the day, how much would I actually pay to feel good again, to feel good as a middle-aged woman? I can't believe I'm saying I'm a middle-aged woman. I already know that price tag that I would pay on a monthly basis to be with a professional. So I went through this process and I was able to make that decision very quickly, knowing that the outcome was me feeling good, which is like what we all strive for. So the next is the redirect. You want to channel your analysis into action. So anything you analyzed, like the cost of the program, the length of the program, all the touch points, the intake forms, those are all the things that I have to do. Just do them. Like right now, I actually have like 5 emails from the program. I have to complete a bunch of intake forms. That's going to take a long time. I know that. I need to set aside a time to focus on just that. And I'm going to put it into my calendar because that's when the action is going to happen. You also have to set clear decision deadlines. Something that I used to do in my agency days when I had a bigger team and I was delegating is anytime and this was back in like 2012 to 2016, and we weren't using things like Voxer to talk, and we weren't using Slack by then. Slack maybe existed, kind of didn't. There was other tools. We used email a lot to delegate. And what I would do when I would send a task to somebody saying, hey, Jamie, can you review this blog post and review it for content and then review it for spelling, grammar, and punctuation? I would put at the bottom of that email and I would bold it in red. This is due for them. That task is due by Wednesday at noon. I was delegating to it and I gave them a deadline. So now that you're going through this decision-making process, so it's coming back to the example of hiring somebody, you have to put your own deadline to it. I'm going to make the decision by March 1st, whether or not I'm hiring this person. And hold yourself accountable by sharing that with your team. And if you don't have a team, share it with somebody that's close to you or another business bestie. Hold yourself accountable to setting clear decision deadlines. And the last step 5 of this process to stop overthinking, is reinforce. Build trust in your decisions and make decisions faster. You're going to fail. You're going to make the wrong decision. That is life. Who cares? Move on. Let it go. Create the accountability system so that you can make these decisions faster and more often. And then make sure you're celebrating those quick wins. Like if I go to pick up these printed brochures and the black and white version actually looks okay, let's celebrate. Great. The decision is made. I don't have to print them in color. Move on. As opposed to, you know what? They might look better in color. Of course they will. But make the decision faster. So we often get stuck in this trap of overthinking in business. We worry about the costs that it's going to be. We worry about how much extra of our time it's going to take. We worry about breaking people's hearts or upsetting people. And we think so much about all these external factors, most of which we can't control, that it just stops us from making decisions altogether. The best entrepreneurs have a system to make decisions and they move through them extremely fast. One example of something that we use internally here is the 1-3-1 method. You have one problem that was proposed to you. Okay, someone comes up to you and saying, hey, our email isn't being delivered. That person who discovered the problem or who owns the outcome of the problem then has to go to their manager with 3 possible solutions in their priority of how they would choose. And if they're having a tough time deciding, they present it to their manager and they say, here are the 3 problems. I believe this number 1 here is the solution, but what do you think? And in that very short amount of time, they will come up with the solution. So think about that 1-3-1 method. In the decision-making process, you have one decision to make. What are the 3 possible things that could affect it positively or negatively? And then just make the decision. Most things you can go back on, right? Making a decision to buy a car, don't overthink it. Buy the car, you don't like it, you can bring it back. Making a decision on what trips to go on, where to go. We just booked, 2 weeks in Hawaii for our spring break. And let me tell you, that was a lot. First of all, it's very expensive. It's very busy that time of year. The people that are helping us book the trip have actually never been there before, so we don't know what we're doing. And yes, there are travel agents out there that can help. It took a lot to make decisions, partially because my husband cannot sit at an all-inclusive resort for more than a day before going crazy. I'm like a 2-day, 3-day tops kind of person, but also our kids are there. They want to play in the pool, play on the beach. They love the all-inclusive. So we had to make the decision that we can do it. We set the parameters around it, no more than 3 days. Bada boom, bada bing. And we went through this process. So if you're overthinking too much, you have to think about the ways that is not going to serve you in your business or in your life. Your analytical mind is a gift. Don't get me wrong. It's an incredible gift as an entrepreneur. But it also could be a detriment. And this framework, I'm telling you, the 5 steps, starting with release, record, reality check, redirect, and reinforce, can help you make better decisions faster because business moves at the speed of your decisions. I would love to hear how you're integrating this framework. Hit me up on Instagram, Renee_Warren. And also, if you want to meet me in person, come out to Kelowna, BC on June 12th for the Pink Skirt Project. It is a 300+ person event, female entrepreneurs coming out. We're celebrating some incredible keynotes. We just announced my husband, Dan Martello, is speaking. And by the time this episode launches, we're also announcing the incredible Jen Gottlieb is going to be a keynote speaker flying in from Miami to Kelowna, BC to talk about her iconic talk, The Courage to Be Seen, because she is one of the ultimate authority builders out there. So Jen Gottlieb's coming to the Pink Skirt Project. Go to thepink skirtproject.com. Until next time, ladies, peace out.